What's this all about? Bioware devs rage at gamers and humiliate
So this
himself.
super weird out of touch guy Mark Darrah made a video complaining about gamers. Mark Darrah, an ex-dev from Bioware. And what's even more hilarious is how he's getting all upset in the comments of that video, which we're definitely going to be taking a look at. He's like rage responding to people. It's great entertainment for us. First, a little more.
Bro, this guy is super old, man. What are you doing, bro? I guess technically when you get older, I guess you get more grumpier, I guess. I don't know.
Info on Mark Darrah. So yeah, once again, this guy is an ex-dev for Bioware, although apparently he was brought back to do some consulting on Veilguard. That's what some people are saying.
I see. Consulting. Interesting.
If that's true, that's hilarious. What we do know, however, is that he was at the very least attempting to prop up and defend Veilguard. For example, Rock, Paper, Shotgun here as a headline. BioWare's Mark Darrah thinks Veilguard's the first Dragon Age where the combat's actually fun.
Wait, BioWare's Mark Darrah thinks Veilguard is the first Dragon Age where the combat is actually fun? Say psych. say tell me if this is an early April Fool's joke. You can't be serious, right? Damn, man.
What I see in Veilguard.
Wait, dubstep. I know you finished Veilguard. Do you actually think the combat is actually fun? Question mark. Like, you actually, like, completed the game. I have not completed the game itself, but do you actually think it's actually fun? From, like, beginning to end, do you think the combat is actually fun? Let me know.
It's a game that finally bridges the gap. Oh, and you know what? Here's some more information on the whole Veilguard consulting thing. Games Radar had wrote, former Dragon Age boss now consulting on the Veilguard. No way. Says the RPG really is the best Dragon Age game that I've ever played. Yeah, so that's the sort of dude we're talking about. Subtext reading. Mark Darrah has high praise for BioWare's latest. And apparently this dude is a BioWare veteran. How can this dude just like tarnish BioWare's legacy like this? Oh, it's the best Dragon Age game ever. It's
Jeez.
so good. To BioWare's credit, they did used to make good games. The frick is this guy doing? Acting like, oh, Veilguard's the best DA game. BioWare's better than ever. Dudes like this are just complete sellouts. Trying to sell out to the modern audience corpos out there and all that. Yeah, it's pathetic. So that takes us to the current news with this guy. PC Gamer making this tweet that says, BioWare veteran calls out the cruelty of fans celebrating layoffs, saying, you are crossing a line, and you're probably attacking the wrong person anyway. The source for this quote is, as mentioned, a video he made, which is on his channel, and we're going to take a look at a portion of that video. I've already watched the full thing twice.
Oh, he's got a lazy eye too as well. I just noticed that.
Myself, and I'm just going to summarize the great majority of the video, which is simply that the middle part of the video, he's essentially just making excuses for bad game devs, and the latter part of the video, he's essentially trying to dictate who gamers are allowed to criticize and who they're not allowed to criticize. There's also a prevalent recurring theme in his video, which is he doesn't actually use the word criticize. He doesn't want to admit that gamers have fair critiques for these corporations and these devs. No, instead he phrases it specifically as gamers attacking and complaining. And I don't think that's coincidence. I think there's one of two things going on here. Either he's intentionally phrasing it that way, or he's subconsciously phrasing it that way. Either thing leading to the conclusion that he clearly doesn't think gamers are really valid to criticize these corpos, and he's just trying to play cover for them. But yeah.
My honest opinion on the combat is average at best, but what makes the overall combat bad is that the gameplay loop is bad. The skills is a remnant of a life service, so you never feel like you gotten more powerful. Plus, I stuck with the same abilities from the start to end. Really? You stuck to the same abilities? Oh, that's interesting. Are they just better overall or something compared to the stuff that you unlock, question mark? Or is it just or is it just it doesn't really matter what abilities you do?
That's not going well because gamers are seeing right through his nonsense and calling him out, which as mentioned, he's getting upset about in his own comment section. All that said, now I'm going to play a portion of his video for you because while I could summarize this part too, it's just especially amusing what he says here, so enjoy.
Did you read the title? Did it say something like your $70 doesn't buy you cruelty? Well, that's what we're going to talk about today. The fact that you bought a game that you didn't like doesn't give you the right to be cruel or unkind to the people that developed that game. Now,
What do you mean by cruel? What do you mean? As in like criticism towards the game or something, or like criticism to like the people who developed the game? Question mark. Like what are we talking about here? Like, or you mean like the terrible people who worked on this game? Like, be a little bit more specific on this specific subject that you're talking about. You know, I'm like, you're buying like the audiences, the gamers, right? They're your audiences. Like the Bioware fans, the Dragon Age fans. These are your, these are your like core audiences that you want to please, and you want their money, you know? And of course, they're gonna criticize about the game itself. I don't know what we're talking about. Are we talking about like people who are like going to the extreme or something? Like as in like, applying, saying death, death wishes and stuff like that. Personally, there are some people who are like that go a little bit overboard, which personally, I don't approve, harming other people, right? But like, but if it's like normal criticism or so and stuff like that, it's pretty valid. There's nothing wrong with that.
I'm going to be clear about something. I'm not saying that you have to like the thing you bought. I'm not saying even that you aren't allowed to complain about the thing
Okay.
you bought.
Okay.
You can have whatever opinion that you feel like.
Okay.
Even if that opinion is stupid and wrong, you are entitled to that opinion.
Okay.
And to some degree, you're entitled to express that opinion to the corporation, to the video game studio that created this game that you bought.
Okay, so what? Doesn't really matter. Some abilities are good at reducing armor, but it doesn't matter. You can still just press X and you good. Plus, it's too easy. I took on dragons 20 and level 30s above me and died once in Inquisition. I couldn't take on a dragon level 10 levels above me. Really? That's interesting.
You paid 70 of your own dollars for this game, and it disappointed you, and you're angry about that. That is fine. You are entitled to be angry about it.
Okay, so what's wrong here? What are we talking about?
And you're entitled to express that anger in certain channels.
Okay.
If you are mad at that Ubisoft game, be mad at Ubisoft. Express your anger to Ubisoft or to the studio that made the game. But you cross a line when you start being cruel about it.
But like, skill issue. Okay, Dark is calling it skill issue. But okay, but like, what do you mean? What are you talking about? Like, what are we going? Are we talking about like the far extreme measures of cruelty? What are we doing here? Are you gonna give an example or something?
So why am I saying you don't get to be cruel because you spent $70? Let's walk through it. 1, you shouldn't be cruel at all. What are you doing? It's a video game. You don't need to go out of your way to cause harm to other people because of a video game that you don't like.
Okay, so yeah, cruel. He goes off about being cruel.
Mm-hmm.
Never really defines what he means by cruel.
Yeah.
It's something he would use to fit his own meaning whenever it's convenient for him to defend corpos. And okay, here's a question, bruh. Why do these giant corporations get to be cruel to gamers? Trying to take our money, charge us $70 for their AAA slop, oftentimes promising features that are not even there, and releasing games that are far too buggy than they should be at release.
Yeah.
Sometimes essentially using players as their own beta testers without properly disclosing that that's even what they're doing. It's an extremely shady and corrupt industry. You don't see this guy advocating for gamers to get refunds on these slop games. No, instead he's just trying to dictate how gamers are allowed to respond when these corporations try and swindle people out of their money. And of course I understand that they're not literally forcing someone to buy their game. They don't threaten them to buy the game or else. But as mentioned, a lot of the time these corporations are very dishonest in how they're presenting their game as if it's a complete product, when a lot of the time these AAA games really aren't.
If you feel like you need to focus it down onto an actual human being, I mean, that's really sad. I'm sorry. That's very sad. And hopefully you can grow beyond that. But I will give you a couple of outlets. If you need to complain at a human being, I'm going to say you don't get to go lower than the first person in the credits.
Yes, the complaining police over here. Oh, you don't get to do this. You can only do that. And an important thing to take note of is how
Why you want me to attack Ko? You asking the wrong dude. Dark Sneak is leveled as Kip. If only I had this sword on me.
he's not providing any examples. Like, what is he even specifically talking about here? I don't generally see gamers going after like specific people who worked on a game unless those people went out of their way to attack gamers first.
Oh, that was a good play. Sorry, like that was a really good play on him, Hero Hey, right there. Damn, dude, that was a good play. I just had to compliment on that.
Certain companies, certain devs, literally making inflammatory statements that target gamers with hostility. In which case, obviously, yeah, the gamers that see that may very well respond.
I saw what he was doing too
They're
as
allowed
well.
to do that.
That was a good
Or in
play.
other circumstances, when we've seen devs, for example, some of the Veilguard devs, who very obviously put in like self-insert slop into the game.
True.
Which we also directly see negatively impacted the game. Yeah, people are allowed to criticize those choices and the people who made them. Just because you're a game dev doesn't mean you're free from criticism. And,
wasn't the devs also like, or was it some of the devs or one of the somebody or so was talking mad shit or so to like the gamers or so? Like they were kind of like saying bad stuff or something. I don't remember, to be honest. I don't know if it was this game or if it was the other game. I don't remember. They're all kind of like blending together, to be honest. Like the devs, they come out like saying, like people who like work on these games come out and say shit, you know? And like they talk shit, be expected to get shit talked in reverse, you know? I'm just saying. It's like basically in a Call of Duty lobby. Like you start shit, of course the person who you're like trying to start shit with is gonna attack back at you. You can't expect them to just take it or so, you know, they're gonna start coming back at you too.
You can't criticize me. You can only criticize the first name in the credits.
Be a human being.
Jesus.
Have some empathy.
Goddamn, DJ.
And stop being.
Why are you doing this?
Stop throwing a party because a bunch of people lost their jobs. Because you don't know the circumstances that resulted in the thing that you're mad at. People deserve some grace. People deserve some empathy from you. And if you can't provide that, then stay off the internet completely.
Yeah, the lack of self-awareness with this guy, man, is pretty astonishing. Telling us to stay off the internet, that's what he should be doing, really. Like, he's just making terrible points and making himself look like a fool. And again, like I mentioned multiple times, it only gets worse in his own comment section. We're almost there, by the way. And there's two more points I'll bring up really quick. It shouldn't be surprising when people celebrate some of these companies going through layoffs after these companies have been very predatory towards gamers, and or they have people working at those companies that have made public statements showing hostility to gamers.
There you go.
Literally, you can argue that with these companies going through layoffs, the industry is actually
like they're talking like mad shit to gamers or so, and then of course the gamers clap back at them, you know, they're like clap back on them, and then they get upset. They get like, oh, I'm the victim, and I'm like, that's not how it works here, but okay. So that's the only reason why some people are like kind of like congratulating and kind of happy that they're losing some employees, because I assume they're getting rid of the people who just don't do the work, you know?
The final point is that it comes off really hollow when he's pretending to care about people that get laid off. He's unwilling to criticize the devs who are factually bringing these studios down, which very well may result in a game underperforming and then everyone getting laid off. And I'm using everyone a bit facetiously here, but you know, a massive number of people. If he really didn't want layoffs to happen, then he shouldn't be upset when gamers find people responsible for dragging these games down and then criticizing the bad work that they do. That bad work can directly lead to the game underperforming and then, surprise, layoffs. But nah, instead he's ardently defending these people for some reason. Anyways, let me know what you think about that stuff. Now on to the comments. A top comment reads, "A simple bill of $70 gives me the right to critique a product." And Mark responds with this really weird comment that says, "Watch the video, dislike something, express that dislike to the studio, but why are you crawling into someone's personal social media feed? If you need a human, look at the first few names in the credits. We can..."
What do you mean? But like these people are on a public media, you know, social media place, you know?
and then see a user questioning how Mark knows that person is even doing what he's accusing him of, to which someone else points out that he really doesn't. As it turns out, that comment that Mark left is one that he's been copy-pasting all over the comment section. I find this particularly amusing because he tries to say to act like a human being in his video, but he comes off like some kind of robot. Like, it comes off very fake.
Jesus.
And then he's just copy-pasting slop in the comment section. I think this guy should take his own advice. Like, bro, try and act like a human instead of a bot. Oh, look, here's a comment he left that's actually not just a copy-paste. This user says, "You have never once called out your colleagues for their cruelty." And Mark says, "Nope. Yeah, it's not a copy-paste, but it's still definitely not helping his case." This user says, "Studios, attack the gamers. Gamers, retaliate. Studios, shocked Pikachu face." And Mark Darrah's back with his...
Yeah, because like the studios are like saying mad shit or so. If you give your opinion in public spaces, either online or IRL, anyone can agree or disagree with it. Yeah, it's just like you're on, like, let's say for example it's on Twitter, right? Twitter is like a public social space, you know? Like you can say your opinion and everything like that, and then other people can like agree to disagree with you. You know, but if you're saying that someone disagrees with you, they think you like your you know, your response is wrong, and then you're like, "Oh, I'm being attacked. I'm being attacked. Help me. Help me. I'm being the victim here." It's like that's not how it works here, you know? I don't know, man. It's I don't think this guy is like understanding what he's saying himself, you know?
copy-paste nonsense. We can see another example of that right here.
I wouldn't be surprised if he also got brainwashed from the, you know how like that video that we saw a couple weeks ago about the whole DEI thing, where like they bring in someone to make white people feel bad or so, you know? You disagree with me, Nazi blocked. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if he got like brainwashed or so as well, because like it's kind of weird. It's like some kind of like weird like experiment or like club or like some weird kind of like cult or something,
where this person says, quote unquote, "Don't ask questions, just consume product and wait for next product." And there's Mark's typical copy-paste response. There's plenty more examples of him doing this, but I'm sure you get the point. Interestingly enough, this comment reads, "You know what, credit where credit's due. The comment section is not turned off." And Mark says, "Not yet." All this goes back to what I said earlier about how I don't think this guy genuinely does care about the industry. He seems intent on defending certain people from criticism. I think we all know who those certain people probably are. Because even just taking a look at his video and his actions in the comment section, he's only giving gamers even more reasons to despise the AAA industry. Lastly, let's take a look at this exchange where a user says, "I guess devs can be cruel for years, and the second it happens back to them, the gamers are the bad guys, and the devs are all of a sudden the victim." Right. Mark says, ideally we would see decorum from everyone, but people point out how he doesn't seem to really stand by that at all. The next response saying, "That was of no priority to you in this video." And indeed, he never mentioned that at all. Instead, he was trying to frame all the critiques from gamers as attacks and unjust complaining, and mentioning nothing of the awful behavior we've seen from numerous devs in the industry. The next response reads, "People didn't when it was one-sided for the last decade. Too late to do a 180 and say people should now, when the other side has the upper hand. Western AAA games have been terrible for value for the longest time, and there's no reason to buy them over indie or Eastern developed games." And then this response says, "So where's your video about game dev cruelty, Mark? Where's your article about that? What a snake. It's much more cruel to be an executive producer who pushes for or allows all the elements that were guaranteed to get everyone working under you laid off." Hey, that's kind of similar to what I mentioned earlier, and how it comes off like Mark is very disingenuous. But continuing, the user says, "The team's well-being was your responsibility as far as game production goes. Unless you're telling me that EA was pushing all those undesirable elements, and you'd like to tell us that. But you probably weren't even one to rein your more belligerent coworkers in, let alone keep their sales-killing agendas out of the product." You know what, I'll read one more comment right here, this one that says, "Realistically, we see attacks from devs. You need to get comfortable with the fact that you're not a victim." All in all, I think the people in the responses did a great job of responding to Mark and pointing out the issues with the pathetic arguments that he attempted to make. Once again, let me know what you think about all of this stuff in the comments here. And if you enjoyed my coverage, please consider liking and or subscribing. Appreciate ya. Have a great weekend ahead, and I'll see you in the next one.
Yeah. It's kind of weird in my personal opinion, honestly. It's just weird. Honestly, I don't know. Yeah, I'll take a look at it. Give me 1 second. But yeah, overall, like, this is a an ex Bioware dev who is a consultant now, who worked on Dragon Age the Veilguard, and thinking that Dragon Age Veilguard, you know, combat is actually good. And Dubstep is the one who completed the game himself, and he thinks that, you know, the repetitiveness is it's what drags it down, you know, and the combat seems to be not fulfilling, you know. I still think that the ultimates are... Wait, Dubstep, do you get like another ultimate later in the game, or is it just the same ultimate throughout the rest of the game? I'm just kind of curious if you unlock another ultimate or not. I'm not too sure on that, so... But at least so far, the ultimates have been pretty underwhelming and pretty lame. Yeah, you better ults. You get better ults? Okay. Alright. But, honestly, the ultimates, but at least like the base 1 ultimates of what I've seen or so for some of the characters are not that great, though. Like, it's pretty terrible, but I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But yeah, to be hearing this guy or so speaking about, like, you know, oh, we're the, you know, you can't be cruel or anything like that. Look, no one, like, asking for like death wishes and stuff like that is definitely a big no-no, right? And there are probably some minority of the people who are like this because they're hiding behind a computer, you know, they're not showing their faces or anything, so they're typing out, you know, like that. But like actual genuine people who criticize the game itself, and then also how these devs like talk shit to gamers, do not expect not to get clapped back or so. You know, if you're gonna talk shit in a public space, which is basically almost a Call of Duty lobby, expect the shit to come back at you, okay? Tenfold, all right? So, I'm just saying, if you can't handle, you know, if you can't handle the heat in the kitchen, just get out. Don't even bother, you know? But that's just my opinion, though. But anyways, I don't know. It's kind of crazy in my personal opinion, but it is what it is. Well, that's the end of the video. You guys can comment, like, subscribe, do all that fancy jazzy stuff. Yeah, you guys can tell me what you think about this, personally, about this guy's videos. Personally, like, I'm gonna be honest with you, none of the Bioware games really interest me as much. So technically Dragon Age the Veilguard is my first ever Bioware game. If I'm thinking correctly, yes, it is. But yeah, but personally, like, if I don't like a certain game or so, I just kind of like look somewhere else, you know, just kind of look at other games personally. But I don't know, but yeah. But let me guys know in the comment sections, and that's the end of the video, and peace.